first thing that I found when I went to that worldwidetelescope.org. This is the very first image that I came across that sent me down a rabbit hole. So right here, what you're looking at is what looks like to be, in my opinion, a pyramid somewhere in the background. And then, I didn't even catalog this. That looks like some kind of junk or broken piece or something. This looks like technology. All I did was blow it up and bring it forward. No editing, no enhancement. This looks like a sphinx. You know, it's kind of pixelized here because it's not on the computer screen. And this object clearly has legs on it, and I tried to blow it up as well. So this is one of the very first anomalies I ever discovered. And that's on Mars, and it came from worldwidetelescope.org. And it's actually hosted on jpl.nasa/washington.edu. So the Washington University website hosts this image. Here's another one. Yeah. That's on from a Gigapan. Here's a Gigapan link. I always provide the source links for the information so that anybody can go pull down the science and edit it and check it out and edit, take the contrast, play with it and see if it's something different. Maybe you think it's something else. I think it's a car. That's sitting out in like this empty area on Mars. Just sitting out there.
What's the rover to look for faces on Mars on the telescope? Worldwide telescope.
It takes pictures of everything.
The rover.
Yeah. But the thing about a lot of the faces that it finds, why are they always looking at the camera? I never saw statues that turned to look at cameras. Interesting stuff. That's the Sphinx there. Here's another object that I found. This was one of the ones from the worldwidetelescope.org, and pretty interesting anomaly here. This is one of the very first ones I found. I don't think that's a rock.
That's an giant.
I just don't think it's a rock.
You said a giant rock.
Yeah, I know, right? This is the object. This is the raw image. All I did was make it bigger. No editing, no enhancing. What is that? This is why they keep going back to Mars, guys. Why they literally spent trillions of dollars to go to Mars and keep telling you it's a cold, dry rock. But now all the new science is coming out. What's that, guys?
What's a dreadnought?
Source image right there at the top, by the way. Martine Brain, one of my best anomaly hunters. The reason why they're going to Mars is because the Atlanteans and the Egyptians were there. That's why they're going there. Pieces of broken technology. That's not a rock. That was pretty hard to see from not being on the computer. Interesting. A head of some kind of animal. Maybe. Or maybe it's a rock that looks like a ram. I don't know. But I can tell you, they're going there because of these things that we keep finding. Oops, what's going on here, guys? What they're doing? Why is this guy here turning around? Now, I don't know if you can't see it clear here, you can see it on the computer. But this is a chair, and this, whatever it is looking back at the camera. I don't know. There's a group of people there just chilling. That's what they're doing. They're just chilling out there without any spacesuits on, guys. Here's a couple that's dead. Now, this was analyzed by 10 of the top anomaly hunters in the world, and they all came up with the same image. Because we send our images to each other to brush them off of each other and say, hey, do you still see this when you turn this contrast up or down? Is this here? What do you think? Sometimes we cancel out something and say, we don't think it's an anomaly. And this one, everybody was in complete agreement. You can see a face here, and a face here. They're wearing some type of clothing. If you remember what happened in Pompeii, when the people were running from the volcanic eruption, kind of gives you the same feeling here. Something happened and struck them dead in that exact spot. Okay? And there's a source of it. So is there life outside this planet, or was there life outside of this planet? Yeah. And you can also go to nasa.gov and download about 1.8 million images right now. No, it's being paid for. It's part of your taxes paid for it. It's public data. It's a public company and a public service company, and they have to give you the information. They were initially, years ago, they were holding back the images, and then the senator out of Arizona was getting ready to file a major lawsuit against NASA, and then within 1 week, and they released like 400, 500,000 images. And the images have been flowing pretty steadily ever since. What they've done is, though, they try to obfuscate them or make them into this reddish color. That's not the real color of Mars. Mars is not red like that. It looks more like Arizona. Here's an interesting one. Looks like an African guy carved out of the side of a mountain. That's clearly, and that's massive, by the way. That's really big. I mean, that's really massive, this hillside here. Very, very big. Somebody is up there. Here's another interesting shot. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a skeleton.
Is it still all Mars?
Yeah, this is all Mars.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. You get pixelation because there's actually two skeletons side by side, but you get some pixelation because it's being stretched out on the screen. On my computer, it's pretty crystal clear. Oops, what's that doing there, guys? A 4-story tall Egyptian artifact carved into the side of Victoria crater on Mars. Like I told you, when I started seeing these Egyptian artifacts, I had to start digging and seeing like, wait a minute, I gotta read some text. That's what started me reading a lot more ancient texts. What is that doing there? That's a well documented. That's one of the very most famous, things that linked Mars to Egypt right there. Hey, cousin. Here's the one that I found. This is my discovery. I was just combing by this image from Caltech. This image was posted on the Caltech site, and I was like, wow. Neville Thompson is the one that pulled down the raw images, and I saw these shadows. So all I did was make a circle around them, and then hit auto. What's it called? It's called auto enhance. Thank you. And then it just did that. It's anybody. No, you don't have to be a genius. Anybody can do this. So you can just download the image and take a look at it, and just make circles around things, and press that button, and it automatically delete all the fuzzy stuff around it. That looks like animals to me. I could be wrong, but it doesn't look like rocks. All the new areas come out on a real-time basis from our servers. So as they come new to Neville Thompson, who's our main guy that pulls down images for the group, every single day he's scouring those images and pulling them down in real time. And then he's creating the gigapans or giving us the data to go look for. So if you go to our group, which is, we have so many groups, but the main one would be United Family of Anomaly Hunters on Facebook. And then from here, you'll see the individual groups that you can join to get access to raw images. Every day you'll open up your computer, you'll find access to more raw images with the source links, and you can download them. And before anybody finds anything, you could be looking like, I was the first one to find these from that exact method, getting them on a daily basis, and then just getting a magnifying glass out, looking at them and saying, wow, I think I found something. This was on Ancient Aliens. We made Ancient Aliens with this one. It was the Mars episode, one of the Mars episodes that came out, I think, 2 seasons ago. And this clearly, to me, looks like a fallen over statue. This would be the face, and then you can see it plugged into something. And then this is the body, and that's the head part. It's kind of blurry there because it's on the thing, but crystal clear on my computer. But this, to me, is like a fallen over statue. Again, that's on Mars. Here's another one of my discoveries. I'm going to show you a couple of images of this because first, you look at it like this, and I was able to start to identify that there seemed to be something there that didn't make any sense. And then we had it colorized to give you the separation. And you see that this object seems to be caught on this wall, or wherever that is. And it seems to be 2 people trying to get it off. I don't think that's a statue. I don't think statues, I would never make a statue that looked like I was trying to get a car unhooked from a wall. So, I don't know. What is it? Interesting stuff. And that's a futuristic looking car too. Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah. It's like an SUV. Even though it's blurry up there, you can still make it out as blurry as it was up there. It's like an SUV.
The right angles don't really occur that much.
Yeah. They occur, but not like that.
Right angle just right there.
Yeah, it's too many. The way that it's set up, it's too much intelligent design. And what's this, guys?
Wow, come on. Oh, that's obvious.
Look, and look at the back.
You got a sword.
A gun turret. You see the shadow from the gun turret?
Yeah.
Right there.
Right there, Father.
Have you ever heard of the Mars Defense Force? That's real.
That makes sense.
That's real. The rover that took this image is called Spirit Rover. If you can see the full image, which this is just a small, there's actually a convoy here. Behind this is more coming. Yeah, behind that is more coming. This is a really amazing one. But this one was so close to the Spirit Rover, was able to get a much cleaner image. We were able to pick it out better and showcase it better. Yeah. Amazing. I don't even want to show you this thing. On the computer, it looks like a dead animal. A massive dead animal. And yeah, they do have trees at the North and South Pole. That's snow and trees. Well documented. We give you the longitude, the latitude. We give you the gallery and the image number so that you can download it for yourself. Yeah. Tons of trees, which means what, guys?
Like oxygen.
Oxygen, water, everything you need for life. This is why all the NASA news has changed now. What they say, we've been talking about this for what now, almost 8 years, that there's water and life on Mars. Now they just came out a year and a half ago. Oh, by the way, guys, we discovered that Mars has billions of tons of liquid water. Then on the TV press release, they show a mountain with water coming down the side. Now they just found a 12,000 acre lake on Mars. And now the newest thing is that they're saying the Martian soil is better for farming than Earth's soil.
Yeah, because we didn't kill that soil.
Exactly. So, how would they know this? Interesting. So there's a new mission to Mars now, a brand new rover. And this rover is going to be the rover, you heard it here first, that tells you that there's alien life. It's going to tell you that they discovered bacteria on Mars, which they discovered already during the Viking mission back in the 70s and hid it from us. But finally, too many people like myself and you guys are getting access to this information. And I'm showing you where it's at. You can pull it down and show people yourself. And it's called too much technology in the hands of civilians now. They got to get ahead of the story. So they're going to announce bacteria exist, alien bacteria. And then what's going to happen after the announcement is other scientists are going to come in and debate that it was from contamination from us sending rovers to Mars, missions to Mars. So there's going to be a big debate to keep the question mark going. But they're going to come out and say, we discovered bacteria. And then a group of scientists is going to come and put the question mark stamp. We contaminated the planet. And we spread bacteria all over the planet. That's what's going to happen. But they will come out and say that there's alien life in this bacteria.
That's cool because it already proves that it can sustain life. So whether they say
Exactly.
or not,
They prove it. It's sustainable.
we're good.
Right now, based on the Mars science data from the REMS unit, which is the unit that detects all the atmospheric gases and barometric pressures and everything else, I'm estimating that anything from 8 to 10 feet down can literally breathe and walk and operate just totally fine. Totally fine. And it's, by the way, it's not cold. 95 degrees in the shade at the equator. That was reported by the Opportunity rover about 7 years ago. Yeah, 95 degrees. Nice smoldering heat there. An article came out in the Detroit newspaper and Michigan newspapers 2 years ago because the winter was so brutal. They said that Mars was warmer in the winter than Detroit, Michigan, I'm sorry. So it's pretty interesting. Here's something interesting here. Laying out there on the sand looks like a head. I don't know if it's a real head or if it's a statue head or if it's just a rock that looks like a head, but it's there. Here's another one of my discoveries.
That's obvious.
That's pretty obvious. I mean, I don't know how more obvious you can get. I mean, it's a plane, man.
I know.
It's definitely old and broken, but it's definitely a plane. I mean, I know what a plane looks like. Yeah, that's one of my most interesting discoveries. This one's a few years old. Here's something that relates back to ancient Egypt. Again, we have an Ankh just laying out there on the sand. A perfectly good Ankh. That's just one of over a dozen Ankhs we discovered on Mars. Over a dozen Ankhs now. There's some even bigger than that. So, like I said, one architect. Earth, Mars, the moon, other planets, the rings of Saturn. These people were really advanced and they covered this entire place. This is interesting. Looks like some kind of shuttle. You know,
Colorize it like that.
that was colorized by one filter. It's like auto tone filter. And when they hit the auto tone, this one wasn't found by me. But this guy's a very reputable anomaly hunter. So he uses auto tone, and auto tone automatically colorizes instantly. Yeah. You can see it to the far side, what it looked like before.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the colors already there. If you really look hard at it, they're kind of there, but when you auto tone it, it just brings out the real color.
What do you think down here?
It looks like some type of a land shuttle or something that you would probably get in. It looks like it's got butterfly windows and doors or something. I don't know. It's a weird looking thing. Could be some type of vehicle. R2D2. Yeah, that was found by Rami Bar Elon. He lives in Israel. He's one of our top anomaly hunters. He actually runs exclusive Mars images on Facebook groups. And I'm one of the admins of that group. And he discovered this about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Source images and everything are always included so that anybody can find these for themselves. This is the structure with the head on top. This must have been an important man. Looks like Colonel Sanders or somebody. But it's a building structure with a head on top. Everything. That's it, man. And what's great about Mars, every race, you can find what look like Native American people, you can find black people, you can find white people, you can find every kind of people that you can't even describe as a human being. People that look like complete total aliens to what we know as a human being looks like, all up there. Just a big push to go to Mars right now. Elon Musk is taking 80,000 people to Mars. If you're a billionaire and you're used to all the creature comforts of this planet and maids and butlers and everything else, are you going to go live in a tin can for the rest of your life?
No.
I don't think so.
They know something we don't know.
There's infrastructure up there. And I think that they've utilized, unfortunately, a lot of slave labor to build that infrastructure by possibly taking people from this planet and taking them there. There also have been police accounts of prominent people leaving letters behind. Doctors, physicists, scientists, saying that they're leaving this planet for a better place. Some of them even abandoned their own children and literally disappeared. Gone. I think they're on Mars. Here's an interesting anomaly. There were 2 concurrent civilizations running, one on Earth and one on Mars, all run by the same people, the Anunnaki, Atlantean people, these Anunnaki people that had this advanced technology, that set up different civilizations at different levels around the solar system and controlled and ran all of them. Mars had a couple of problems. The first problem Mars had was Tiamat literally exploded. That was the planet that was, Mars used to orbit a planet. Mars was a moon. That's how, Mars is big, but it's still smaller than Earth. It was orbiting another planet named Tiamat, which became the asteroid belt. And the Anunnaki list tells you about the collision that happened and the fact that it turned into the asteroid belt. Mars was then slung into a very strange elliptic orbit around the sun, and scientists have backtracked it and realized that, wait a minute, this planet probably was a moon of something else because of the way that it's set up in its orbit. You can detect and you rewind it, you discover like, wow, this thing was slung out to this kind of weird orbit. And sometimes it's only 40 million miles away, and sometimes it's 180 million miles away, depending on aperture or perigee. So it's a very interesting thing. And every 2 years is when it comes close. That's why we have a launch window every 2 years. So every 2 years we know we got a rendezvous with Mars with a mission, because that's when it's closest. We can get there in less than 3 months. Otherwise, it can take 6 months to a year to get to Mars. So it just depends on where it is in orbit around the sun. But Mars, so when that explosion happened, a lot of the mass of Tiamat smashed into Mars. And it's evidenced by one side of Mars is completely charred, and the other side is completely smooth. So the side that took that heat, that hit, and that weight, it made a pole shift. So the crust, the equator is moved, and we can detect the equator. We have all the science data up there to detect the equator. The equator shifted about 25 degrees on that first collision. And that shifted the crust, and that caused a global flood. That destroyed Mars the first time. It then made a comeback. Around the time the Anunnaki were here, it was already on the part of the comeback, and people were living there. The Ijiji were living on Mars. That was a working class Anunnaki race, mining Mars resources Those are the sons of God that fell from heaven and then made it with the daughters of man, Genesis. Because they came down to earth and complained to Enki and Lil, we're going to get ready to go to battle against them in Africa at Adam's calendar. And then what happened was they said, okay, we'll genetically modify some humans, we'll make a slave race and reduce your workload. But they're like, by the way, when we leave here, guys, we're taking some women with us because we ain't got no women on Mars. I'm dead serious. That's what it says. They took women back with them. They were like, we're taking these women out of here. And they started civilizations up there with actual people, humans, on Mars. That's a good question. He said, how come that ship, what's left there, didn't deteriorate? That's a fantastic question. Now, here's what happened. I asked the same question, because that's a great question. And nobody has ever asked me that question, by the way. That's a great question. So I contacted the metallurgist and said, hey, we keep detecting these objects, we're discovering these objects on Mars that, when you look at their light reflectivity, appear to be metallic in nature. How long can an object last completely exposed before it turns back to dust? Because some of these objects appear to be completely intact. He said no more than 80 years. We contacted another one. He said no more than 100 years. So what does that tell us? It tells us that some of these objects may not even be that old. Right. And if you go into the history of Mars and some research, science papers were put out by a physicist that said they detected an enormous amount of xenon in the atmosphere, weapons grade xenon. Something happened very recently, and then they recorded a massive plume that was seen by people from Earth a long time ago, all coming from Mars. So could there have been another war on Mars or another massive explosion, maybe from some remnant bombs or something that somebody stupid did or whatever, but something potentially in more recent times created the destruction that we're looking at right now.
What if it's a different type of metal?
It could be a different type of metal. It's all theory. It's all theory. And all theory and conjecture. We really don't know. But if it is metal, and it is xenon, weapons grade xenon, which has also been announced by NASA, even in the sand they're saying weapons grade xenon. Now we have a situation that could potentially be evidence of a nuclear war that happened in more recent times that we weren't aware of. So, yeah. Here's what looks like a soldier head sticking out of the ground with a helmet on. I call this the king and the queen. You know what a Toltec looks like?
Yeah, I got it.
This is exactly what this is, obviously part of the mountainside is covered, but Toltec and what looks like to be a female face. That's at Victoria Crater. Now, you can't see it from here, but right past the female is that giant gold Egyptian body that I showed you earlier. All carved into this one mountainside called Victoria Crater. This object I found, I don't even know what it is. It just doesn't look like rocks, man. I can't see. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Oh, no.
This was half, so what Rami did was he duplicated the other half and put it together so we can see what it potentially would look like. Interesting bone structure there, if it is bones. Another very strange object. It's weird. It's weird. We don't know what it is. This is on the planet Venus. City. I discovered this. One day I got bored of looking at Mars images. I had combed through so many Mars images, and I was like, okay, what else could there possibly be to evidence of the Anunnaki in our solar system? And I said, okay, Venus. We know it's supposed to be small and hot gases, and nothing can survive there, and blah, 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 blah. But I remembered a mission from Russia a long time ago in the 70s to go to Venus. And I said, well, if the temperature's like this, nothing could land there. Why would Russia send a mission? So I started looking it up. The Venera missions. They sent 14 missions to Venus. 14. And they landed on Venus. And the imagery and everything else is on the Russian Space Agency website. Not only did they land on Venus, but they sent back sound and video. And if it's so smoldering, hot, and heat, nothing can withstand the pressures and everything else, how did the parachute allow this thing to even land? They should have built the Twin Towers out of that parachute fabric. Okay? Because it's got to be indestructible.
What's that, Dubai? Is that Dubai?
That's Dubai that color image is Dubai. So what I did was I went to usgs.gov because I found out that the only images of Venus were on a radar scan of the planet from usgs.gov. So I started zooming in, I started looking at the images, and I started noticing this particular massive area. This area is pretty large. I think it's about 450 miles or something like that across. 256 miles, 413 kilometers, yeah. And I said, man, this just doesn't look like, it should be long here. What is this? And the more I looked at it, the more I realized it looked like a city. So I started looking for cities on Google that kind of maybe resembled what it might look like to look at a city from up above space. And I came across this high altitude image of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. And I was like, wow, this is extremely similar. The ports and the canals and everything else, whatever, the structures, the roads, the streets. So that's on Venus. To me, it shouldn't even be there. It's supposed to be nothing but just barren wasteland that nothing can ever live or exist. But why is it there? Then you start reading the history about Venus, and it belonged to one of the Anunnaki females. They named Easter after her. Huh? Yeah, Inanna. Thank you very much. They named Ishtar Inanna. Yes, thank you. So Inanna owned this planet. People own planets. Anybody ever see Jupiter ascending? Yeah, that was a slap in the face, true story. Like, to give you the perspective of understanding, people own planets. People own solar systems. People own galaxies. Yeah, people that kind of look like you and me. Stand upright, walk upright, have hands, feet, eyes, and everything else.
What did Venus sound like?
There's no sound. You mean on the Venera mission? Just a lot of wind. Yeah, you can pull that up too. Very readily, publicly available information. Just type in the Venera, Venera mission, Russia, Venus, and you'll get the videos, the sound, audio, and also there was a little thing walking around in front of the lander, and it walked around and moved around until it walked out of the camera's view. And the explanation from NASA was that they think that the lens cap fell off. I took the image itself was taken probably about 10 years ago. I discovered it probably about 4.